Welcome to Doki Doki Forest. I am so glad you are here. Today we are going to do some gluing in the Glue Book January glue book. That seems redundant. But I've really been enjoying glue booking lately. It's just been a very relaxing activity. It's a perfect thing to do here and there when you have time. And I've just been really excited about creating pages with all of my images, especially images that I've been holding on to for years, and I'm deciding, no, we're just going to use them because I've had them for way too long. Now, Glue Book January is a prompt challenge for your glue books, and it's hosted by Caged Fish, and I will have her information down below so you can go to her channel and check it out. And I know it's not January anymore, and I'm not really worrying about that. I'm still going to continue with my pages, and I'm going to finish all the prompts. And what Caged Fish did was create a list where each day she gives you about 5 prompts, random prompts, and you have to go and find that image in a magazine or in a book, or a sticker, whatever, or you can even just look it up on Pinterest. And then you use those images to create a page for that day. Now this year she also had questions that she's doing along with the prompts, but the questions got to be a little bit too much for me right now. I would like to do them at some point later, and I'll add them to the book because they are really good questions. It's just for some reason right now, I'm just not in the right headspace to do those questions. But so saving those for later, and for now just working on the prompts. So today we're going to do days 12 through 16. Also, I will speed up the footage when I show you the process of creating the pages, but don't worry, because at the end I will slow it down and show you the pages so that way you can kind of take it in. It's just that it takes me a long time to glue sometimes, so I speed it up so you can just see it real quick, and then we'll look at it slowly at the end. Okay, so our prompts for day 12 are breakfast. I have 2 pictures to choose from. Hot air balloon. I also had 2 pictures. Lit candle. And I did find a few of those. They kept showing up in different catalogs. And then violin. I only had this 1 image. And lastly, sunset. And I have 2 beautiful sunsets to select from. So I'm just trying to figure out, like usual, trying to figure out how to get these pictures together. And one of the first things I think about is whether I'm going to make it a 1-page or 2-page spread, sort of depending on how big the pictures are. These ones aren't too big, and I am going to fit them all on 1 page. I went ahead and cut out those hands one's holding an egg, the other one's holding the bowl, and that was from that illustrated breakfast picture. I really liked the way that they looked, and I liked that better than the realistic picture when I was holding them up. I thought they looked really neat coming in from the sides of the page. The only thing is, there's that space at the bottom there, so I was trying to figure out how I can arrange everything and cover that up. And it actually looks pretty good, even not covered up. But I thought, well, maybe I'll just do a double breakfast and put that in there. Maybe it's the first breakfast and then, of course, second breakfast. This is like a Hobbit-style breakfast serving here. And for this page, I actually don't have a story, which is rare for me, because usually when I'm creating these, something starts to form in my mind. Like the images, something starts talking to me, but it could be because there's no characters on the page, there's no animals, there's no people besides, the hands. So I feel like it's just a serene, sort of peaceful picture to look at. It's kind of like a self-care, taking care of yourself with good food, good music, nature, On to day 13. Our prompts are lion. All kinds of different lions here to choose from. Then the next one is clown. So I thought, we got to have the clown prince then. We got to have Joker. And then I thought, let's have Harley Quinn too. Let's choose from, the king and queen of crime. Then we have horse, and a few of those. And the next one was tent. I did find this picture I love, and then this was like a little journaling page that I had left over. And that guy was because the last prompt was someone with a beard. Pretty sure he's an actor, but I am blanking on his name. Now, how the heck are these things going to go together? It's always the question when I begin a page. And because I had no story to go with the page that we just worked on before, I'm going to go ahead and just glue right next to it on the page next to it, because sometimes I will skip a page if I think I want to leave space to go back and write a story. But because there was no story, I'm just going to keep on gluing and just continue to the next page. And I liked the image of these horses just jumping over his head. I thought that would look really cool. But it's very difficult to try to figure out how everything else is going to go on the page. I mean, I could just glue things down, but I'm really just trying to figure out, is there a story? You know, before I glue anything down, like, does something come to me? Is there something that feels like it's kind of connected? And right there I was like, well, maybe the Joker's like, you know, the bad voice in his head. I can have the Joker like sitting on his shoulder, you know, like trying to whisper to him to do something that he probably shouldn't do. But then I scrapped that idea. And I have that water horse. I really liked that, but I felt like that didn't work. I have this like beautiful camping scene. Felt like that didn't work. So I went back and I found this image of a horse. And I decided to go with this. I loved that it was a full page and it could cover up the whole page. And then I could just sort of build on the page from there. So I cut out a lion and I trimmed out, or fussy cut, the Joker as well. So that way I felt like I could put him anywhere on the page. And then I was thinking, well, wouldn't it be kind of funny if he's just perched there sitting on the lion? But before I glue any characters down, I want to go ahead and just cover up this little strip that's there that doesn't have anything on it. And of course I could have done that with washi tape as well. So this guy's just down at the bottom. He's feeling hot, you know, so hot. He's like on fire maybe. And then I don't really know why the Joker is on this lion or what the heck is going on in here. So again, this is another page where I'm gluing and I like it, you know, but I don't know exactly what is happening here. But I do know I didn't like the way the lion's paws just kind of get chopped off there and the man's head does. So we're going to have to do something about that. And the tents looked kind of weird when I cut them off the paper. I felt like they looked cute when they were like in the whole scene with the trees, but it's a little strange by themselves. I mean, one of them looked like a potato. But I glued the tent down anyway because that's what I have. And I also have some scraps here which I can cut into some flame shapes. Now, they do look more like waves, but they'll do the job of blending the page together, hopefully, and just kind of covering up those harsh edges, those sharp edges. And then we are on day 14. So we have wand, red shoes, and I have 2 images for that. Then we have Bean. Bean. So I picked Mr. Bean. Then we have ring. And lastly, we have lamp. And I found those 2 lamps. They were like part of the same page, so I just took both of them. Okay, so Hermione and the lady in the red shoes. We've got Mr. Bean, a ring, lamps. What the heck are we doing with these now? And I'm happy to say I did have a bit of a story here. And this is when I feel like I started kind of finding my way during this glue book session. And perhaps, you know, throughout this entire glue book January challenge. I've had moments here and there. And this is a moment here where I felt like I was getting into the flow. The stories were starting to come. And it could be because I was very excited about having like characters and stuff. And here's 2 more lamps because I decided I needed something else besides the lamps that I had. I do have an idea for those 2 lamps, but I just felt like I needed something else. So a couple different storylines in my head while I was creating this. First of all, I was thinking that there was this sort of bored, maybe a housewife, and she's like, oh, I wish something exciting would happen. And then Hermione's like, oh, okay, you want something exciting? Poof. And then she like transforms this lady into Mr. Bean, and then it's a whole adventure. So that was kind of my first story. But then I decided to have a different story where this lady is just out and she's doing her hedge trimming, I guess, as one does, into an animal shape. And this salesman comes up and he's trying to sell her some lamps. She doesn't want any lamps. So she's being polite, and saying like, no, thank you. I really don't need random lamps today. But this is Mr. Bean, and he is not one to listen, let's say. So he keeps trying to find ways to sneak in and maybe put these lamps in the garden or leave them at the house. He's thinking, maybe I can send her a bill later as if she bought these lamps, So this lady's like, oh my gosh, I need some help. I'm going to call on a wizard. So she gets Hermione. Hermione is happy to come in and help this lady and get rid of this pesky man who is constantly trying to get inside and leave these lamps or whatever the heck he's doing. So Hermione casts a Wingardium Leviosa, and up rises Mr. Bean, up into a UFO that happens to be passing by. And he seems pretty happy about it, to be honest, because for him, it's another adventure, so he's okay with it. Now, the only thing I didn't really figure out was that ring. That I'm not sure about. So there is one random image there, that ring, that I'm not 100% on. So let me know if you have an idea of why that ring is there. I would love to know. And we're just going to put those lamps in his hands. And that page is done. So now we have day 15. We have spaceship, USS Enterprise, and another ship just traveling through. We have cowboy hat. We have soap. We have doctor, so I have Doctor Strange. And then, of course, the coolest doctor ever, Doctor Who, and that's my doctor, Tom Baker. And finally, wolf. And I have plenty of wolf images to look through. So we have all kinds of moods, all different sizes. So I've got quite a good collection there. And this page I was very excited about creating, to be honest, because I was so excited about using Doctor Who and Doctor Strange. Maybe one, maybe both. I didn't really know. Cowboy hat, I thought I didn't have any images with a cowboy hat because it's not really something I would collect. I don't collect like cowboy images or anything like that. But I was really excited to see that I did have this cowgirl in my collection of people images. And I thought, perfect. And then when I put that picture of the planet with the ship going by, it just seemed like it really belonged with her. They seemed to go together. So then I have a story that started coming to mind here. As I'm looking at this, I'm thinking that this cowgirl has a magic lasso, and she has figured out that she can send it off, and she can lasso through space and time to reach alternate dimensions, multiverses. She can time travel. She can do all these things. And that's what gets Doctor Strange's attention. The Sorcerer Supreme, or maybe he's not anymore, but I'm going to say he is. The Sorcerer Supreme comes through and gives her a warning message. He tells her that she cannot go and just willy-nilly start ripping through multiverses and all that. She is going to bring chaos and destruction not only to her own world, but to many other worlds. So he's coming to tell her to stop immediately because she doesn't understand the powers that she's meddling with. She hasn't had the training. She just has this magic lasso, and she is just using it and enjoying it and having fun, and that's not going to fly with Doctor Strange. But that's when Doctor Who appears. And he's a Time Lord. So he shows up and he's like, dude, I do this all the time. I travel through time. I might mess stuff up. Everything winds up okay. Just have a jelly baby. So you have these two opposing opinions, two doctors at odds. Who is she going to listen to? Maybe she won't listen to any of them. She's just going to keep doing her thing, which is sort of what Doctor Who is backing up. He's backing her up with that. And now moving on from studs to suds, I had this soap picture. And I thought I could kind of make that look like it's little spaces or little sections where she's kind of ripped through and she's opening up like portals to other worlds without knowing it. So there's like bubbles coming through and different peaks into like space and time. And that way I could give Doctor Strange a little cloud at the bottom, sort of like he's poofing out of it. And then we have some over by Doctor Who. And then I was just kind of ripping off little bubble pictures and putting them all over the place. And then the only other thing was the wolf back there, which seems kind of random, right? But I was thinking, maybe. I'm thinking when I was growing up and I was watching Doctor Who with Tom Baker, my other favorite character besides Doctor Who himself was K9, who was his robot dog. Loved K9 so much. So I'm thinking maybe Doctor Who has traveled back and these are prehistoric times. And he's connected with the original K9, which was this wild dog or wolf. So that's how I explain the wolf in this picture. He is the original K9. And now we're on day 16. We have gorilla. We have telephone. We have Yoda. I was waiting for it to appear. We have skull. And lastly, we have poppies. And I did find a few poppies to choose from. I think those are poppies. I'm actually not sure. They were poppy-ish. So now I'm thinking 2 pages, 1 page. I have some big images here, and so I'm putting down my big images because I'm figuring that will be the background. So I've decided the skull will be my background. And then I will put this lady on top of that image. But originally I was going to keep her whole page there with the bottom, with the land and stuff. But then I decided I would just cut her out, so that way I wasn't covering up the whole rest of the page with her image. And that image of the lady on the telephone I've had for a long time. I have been holding on to that forever. And believe it or not, there is a story to go with this too. It's just a small story, but here's what I'm thinking. So this lady has discovered, or at least this is what she's telling everybody, that she has figured out a way to contact the other side, those that have passed. She's got this telephone that can communicate with the dead. Hence the skull and her telephone. So she's telling everyone that she can communicate with Yoda and receive this wisdom from this ancient soul. He's imparting maybe his Jedi wisdom to her. Maybe she's training to be a Jedi. You know? I mean, I don't know. But the point is, no one knows whether or not to believe her. They start thinking, I don't know, that seems kind of far-fetched. Do you think she can actually talk to people that have passed? And then they start blaming the poppies. You know, doesn't she have a lot of poppies in her yard? You know, maybe she's been kind of doing something. Maybe they're affecting her ability to be rational. Maybe she's imagining that she's communicating. So there's a whole debate in town, or maybe not in town, definitely in her neighborhood. And that includes the gorilla, who is just incredulously listening to this lady go on and on about, you know, all of this Jedi training she's getting, or all of these words of wisdom she's getting from ghosts, basically. And the gorilla's like, can you believe this? Okay, so here are the pages we created today. Or not today. This actually took me a couple of days to do this. So this is day 12 here with our Hobbit breakfast, our double breakfast over there. And then this was day 13, which I still haven't figured out a story for yet. Let me know if you have any ideas. And then we have day 14 here. Oh, and I added some lines onto the lampshades, just some squiggly lines, just to kind of show that they were shades, because they were really kind of fading into the background. Like this white lampshade looked like it belonged in this image, but not in a good way. It seemed like it just was kind of randomly a white rectangle like in the middle of this picture. So I thought maybe if I put the lines on, kind of look more like a lamp. Whoops, I got a little scrap of paper in there. Sometimes that happens. Little scraps get stuck in there. So there's Mr. Bean joyfully beaming up into the spaceship, into the UFO. And then we have day 15, which is a 2-page spread here. This is probably my favorite page that I created, or favorite pages, I guess I should say. And I left this so that way I could write a story. And then our last page, day 15, and this is what this is for too, because I want to write a little story about this. So here is day 15. We have our lady who's communicating with ghosts. What do you think? Can she actually do it? Or are you thinking exactly like this gorilla, like, this lady's crazy? Thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you again soon.